Hell, hell, hello, and welcome to XSplit VCAM prompt screen waiting area. I am one lion, and this is one line of code, one line of technical issues. Refresh. There it is. Hello, and welcome. You look great today. Thank you, Dukasoft. Look better than I ever have. Okay, what is this thing on the top right? Really curious. What are you? Interact. What's this thing? I have no idea what that is. Doesn't matter. What even is any of this stuff that we're looking at? We're looking out somebody's backyard, or maybe this is the front yard or side yard. I don't know. In Pinale, I can't read that. Italy. Liore, Liore, Italy. Anyway, hello. Today is Wednesday, January 11th. A nice yard it is. And we are going to continue working on making the UI better for the financial management tracking application. Dang it, I just closed a window I didn't mean to close. I was looking for an email from my team leader, project manager, whatever he's called. And then I closed my search results. Great. Good idea. And now I'm searching in unread messages. Not helpful. Let's go into project related team. Let's go. And you were, in fact, first, Dukasoft. And hello, Amin. Hello, Amin. I'll be showing my screen shortly. Let me just get some stuff opened up. Okay, dokie, here we go. Desktop. This is a website. It was a relaxing background, says Amin. It kind of looks like it's outside of a bed and breakfast. Sorry, B&B. Nobody says bed and breakfast. Anyway, I hope you're all doing fantastic today. I am keeping myself busy, of course, with my work. We have our emergency release to fix the bugs that were reported to us over the break. And we have the bugs fixed, and they are nice and clean and pristine and pretty. So we have our next release out on the Windows Store, which is awesome. Awesomeness, good times. And so today I have been working on improving the user interface for the work product, and we are essentially doing that for our stream project. On Monday, we did a lot of talking about designing and using AI to do some of the design work. I didn't get very far with that, so instead we're going to go back to our Figma page. One thing I did try to do was take the user interface screen here, and take a picture of it. What time is it for me? It is 10:35. in the morning, in the AMs. And I didn't go that far with that also. With the AI stuff, the AI images. Yeah, I went very far with it. I have thousands of generated images, and I am going to be tweaking the ones that I like, turning them into full on characters, backgrounds. I was really, really, really hoping to get it to generate um, UI design document type stuff, but I haven't found a good model for that. I'm sure if I searched for it, we could find one on the interwebs. Why is this so big? Yeah. Like a phones inside of phones with bad quality screens. So with stable diffusion, the negative prompt is super duper extremely helpful. If you use something like Invoke AI, just make sure to use the square brackets for your negative prompts. And yeah, anyway, no more tutorialing on that. We are just going to do this, hopefully, what is the right way. I do like this though. So we're going to add this now. We're going to create a component, have it list out the accounts, and their balances, pending balances, and adjusted. Well, let's go ahead and do that. I think we have our branch created already, but it is local only. And we have made some changes to it. Oh yeah, we even started on the interesting. We started on the components already too. Amin says he likes Fluent Svelte. Of the site itself, or is Fluent Svelte an actual CSS library design system in Svelte? I'm not using Svelte. Do get started. I mean, I could use Fluent UI. They have one for Blazor. And look at the components. Yeah, it's pretty good. I like it. I like the semi-transparent look to it. It's very, very Windows. Windows OS. But yeah, definitely a good place to start for the actual CSS UI, the actual styling, general styling. I like that you can zoom in. That was an accident. Yeah, so let's go to Fluent Blazor, and that would be these here. Show me your website. See the components. Everything Blazor, please. I said see the components. This is not seeing the components. What? That said it was going to open in a separate window, so I just left clicked on it and it didn't open in a separate window. Okay. Sorry, there is nothing on this page. What the? Okay. So, yes, here are our accordions. Only one can be open at a time. Here's what a show me date fields. That's probably going to be in text. Ugh. Ugh. The design for this site, however, is not cooperative. I don't like it that I'm clicking on things down here and it's taking me up to the top. And it's like, I kind of don't want that. If you were going to do that, then this page on the right should be in its and it's broken. Anyway, this page on the right should be in its own container, and that's what's scrollable. And then this menu thing on the left should be scrollable. Whatever. Yeah, absolutely. But anyway, I do like their input. I do like their input fields. We did kind of use that design. Anyway, where we have kind of where we have this underline, this bottom border for the text input fields, and then just a darker background. We'll take inspiration from this, where it's actually a lighter background, which is really interesting. Yeah, I like that. Man, this site. Show me the date. Show me a date input. Because number field? I see calendar. But I'm looking for an actual date entry field where you can type the date without it zeroing itself out when you make one small mistake. Let's go with teams. I'm used to team color theme. Teams color themes. There's an update. I don't want to update right now. Remind me tomorrow, when I'm not streaming. Good grief. You should know this by now. I forgot what I was looking for. We're just going to get started though. Let's go ahead and create the component itself, which we can do easily, and then we'll style it appropriately. We'll create this component because it's the last piece that I don't have in the UI, and then we'll restyle all of the UI. How does that sound? Probably terrible to a lot of you, especially since I'll be the one driving and making this UI stuff. Okay, so one thing that I had made a decision on is I'm only going to have one localization file, and that is going to be in shared components resources. That's going to be in localization project. Resources, localization, and it's going to be this one here. And so what I would like to do at present is update that, and then we'll create the flipping component. Oh man. We're going to do all of these other things first, and then we're going to fucking form. Yeah, I'm really curious to know what the correct approach for creating resource dictionaries is supposed to be. Correct. What the most best business practices. Yeah, and then we'll sort by value. Find out if I have any duplicates. Okay, so that should take care of all of the localizations from this project. So no more resources for you. And that also means that everywhere that I am injecting, so it's either going to be an @inject I string localizer of, and you can't see me typing that because it opened on a different screen, but I am just searching everywhere for inject I string localizer. And we have 0 matches. So then let's look everywhere for inject private iString localizer. And there's some. You guys are no longer going to exist. Okay, good, good. Instead, what we have is this shared localizer, which is coming from this shared localization project. So everywhere that I have @localizer square bracket is going to need to be updated. How many is this? Not many, so we'll do it one at a time. Amin has some information. So you're using a JSON file for your localizations. You said it's going to help me. Where's the the README? README's help me more than needing to know where to go. Yeah, so you're using JSON files. I'm using regex and iString localizer using the Microsoft localizer service, whatever it's called. In any case, you would only have one primary localization file and then all of the translated files, yeah? It's not like you would have one file per component or per page or per project or whatever. You are using iString localizer though. You can use JSON files with iString localizer. Oh, Bindle, thank you so much for the resub. 9 whole months. 9 entire months. 9 months of being full. Not yeah, here's what I'm not understanding. You have a demo controller. I have my headphones turned up way too loud. Full? No, I said full. You have a demo controller. You're getting an iString localizer of demo controller, and you are getting the localized strings somehow. The thing that I understood about using that approach was what I had before with these individual regex files is if you inject iString localizer of a specific type, it'll look for a regex file that matches that type's name. And that's where it gets its localizations from. And then there is a just regular shared localizer service that I'm using that is specific to being able to get any localized strings from this shared localizer service regex file. Yeah, Thendel wants to know how we're doing. I'm doing fantastic at least. I've been keeping myself busy working on UI cleanup for the work project, and we are now doing UI cleanup in the stream project. Whoa, so if you have not followed Thindle, you may or may not see a heart above. I don't know how long ago that was. It's gotten shorter, but click on the heart. That'll give you Thindle's Twitch channel, where he works on converting legacy applications, migrating, modernizing, all of the things that I absolutely love. Why am I getting so many messages right now? Earlier today, I did talk with the recruiter that contacted me just before I got the job with Sagetti, or just after, I forget, the Google recruiter. And she's like, there aren't really any positions open. And I'm like, that's fine. I'm totally okay with that because I'm enjoying the work that I am currently doing. Shout out streamer name? Question mark? Oh, yeah, slash shout out. So if you type slash in your chat, you will see all of the built-in Twitch commands that you have. Is that a job opening for Blazor? Nope. No, the recruiter, the Google recruiter was for a position, like the initial one was for a position that was at Google Boulder, which does Google Cloud Services or Google Cloud, what is it called? GPC, Google Cloud Compute. And so that's what they focus on here, but they needed infrastructure people. And I'm like, and then the other thing was I'm focused on .NET, and I have been doing a lot of building up my skills in .NET. So I don't know how helpful I will be or how slow it will be for me to transition from .NET to a JavaScript framework, if that's the type of job that they have for me, or just Java in general. I totally bombed the interview too. I was very flustered, and it was like 4 total interviews in one day, and it just got progressively worse. Oh, it was rough. It was rough. I just don't, I have trouble with that kind of thing. But that's okay. We are trying to get these localizers to use the shared localizer that I put in imports.razor, so it is available everywhere. Excuse me, did I? I did. And it says, I've never had more than a single interview per job, or just one interview in your lifetime. What a nice poll. Oh, I didn't even meant to see that. Did you know about Shoutout? I did. Dukasoft is playing with his superpowers. I hope you do. Okay, so that should be everything updated to use shared localizer. So if we look at the app, then all of our strings should still show up as the actual string and not the forgot password sign up. This one's going to be hard to verify. This one's going to be hard to verify. Unless I go in and actually change it. So that being the case, being that that's done, let's go ahead and just verify that we don't have any duplicates. We got about automated realms, account amount, dot, 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 dot. Cool, no duplicates. Lucky, lucky. Okay, so I'm going to keep that open because we're probably going to be adding some new strings as we're building up this component. Localizer, shared localizer. Yes. So Thindle was saying, no, I've had more than one interview, but never any kind of multi-interview process for a job opening. Job skills. I've been doing this for a long time. That it's kind of obvious that I know what an if statement is and that I can break down a problem. The interview should be for are you fit for the team and pretty much nothing more. So that is a local liar. That is an opinion. I do somewhat understand big tech interview processes where they give you those unsolvable or hard to solve problems and tell you to do it on the spot. Because they really are problems that have the breadth of topics and ideas and stuff that you will be working with, such as tree traversal, graphs, data structures, all of those, basic topics that I think are pretty advanced and I don't really care about them as much. But when you're working for um, a large tech company that is doing things like optimizing the way the cloud compute works or the cloud applications work with the cloud compute to make it use as few cycles as possible, then it's like they're testing to see your problem solving skills. Do you know these common patterns? Do you know these uncommon patterns? If you don't, that's fine. Do you know how to ask about them? So I like that, but I also don't like being put on the spot because as a developer, you're not, you typically, I'm kind of backtracking on this because it kind of happened to me, but you typically don't need to do solve this problem right here, right now on the spot. It's here's this problem that we are trying to do, or here's this feature that we're trying to implement. Go do it. Work with your team on it. Yes, you're under a deadline, but it's not like someone is sitting there judging and you know watching you do it. Pair programming, that's a different story where two people are working on the same problem, so it's not like they're judging you. So anyway, point is, oh my gosh, point is, I get another message. Um, how many manhole covers are there in San Francisco help you decide who to hire? That's not the type of question that I'm talking about. If you're pair programming, no docs is great. Bang no docs. No? Nope. Okay, we don't have a command for no docs. Could have sworn that we put one in here. Nope, we didn't. Okay. Bang 404. Yes. Mm. Anyway, um, yeah, just go to Thickdull. Oh, he actually has it on Thindle TV. I thought you had that one on Thickdull. Uh, but yeah, those aren't the types of questions that I'm talking about them asking at an interview. And the way that Google interviews are they have multi-type interviews. You have the behavioral interview. That's how are you going to work? What is your attitude? What do you like? What How do you handle specific situations when working in teams? What are your hobbies? Because that is important for placing you in a team. The technical interview, that is, do you know these concepts? Do you know how to do problem solving? Do you know how to ask questions? When you're stuck, what do you do? And then the after that, then there's the probably managerial interview and then the team interview, where there's actually a team that will see, are you fit to be on this team, kind of thing. Okay, okay, okay. Deflex was just answering no to all of those, but still hire me. Yeah, my mind just went completely blank during my interviews, and I'm like, I know how to do this. And then the other thing was like the one of the three technical interviewers um, had a problem that they gave for their interview question that they wanted solved in a very specific way. And so, because they kept nudging me over to the way that they wanted it solved, I just kept losing track. And I'm like, but this way also works. So, yeah. Anyway, okay, so catching up on Jet. How did they not take the TV? Findle was taken, but they didn't take the TV. Oh my goodness. And then Thindle said, here, there's basically the team interview, and if there are any technical questions, they will be asked by the team. Exactly. So with Sagetti, for example, it's peer interviews. I'm asked, I have been asked often to participate in interviewing new grads, interviewing for UI positions, general positions, kind of stuff. And so I'll ask technical questions, but it feels a lot more laid back, a lot more like you're having a discussion with people that want to hire you and they're looking for reasons to hire you. So, yeah, I use a standing desk. That is correct. All right, mate. Okay, so we are here. We are implementing this component that is semi-designed, which is this account overview. And that's going to have the title that says, oh, we already have the title here. We just need it to be shared localizer. Add that to our list of localized strings. Oh, fine. Then we're going to have some column headers. So, gosh, I'm so used to a tool that we have that I kind of want to recreate the tool, but I don't know if that is a kosher thing to do. But there's a tool that we use that was written by one of our team members that will read your localization files on build, and then it will output or update a localization class. And then you'll be able to use localizer dot, and then you use the name entry. And so these turn into C# const strings, essentially. And then the value is what gets output. But they also have a way for when you do this, it uses this as the key for a dictionary. And well, first it uses the localization locale for the dictionary, and then this for a sub-dictionary to get back the actual translated text. But yeah, Thindle is saying to Amin, I think, I fell in love with the Secret Labs Magnus Pro XL standing desk. It's $1,000 though, but the deal breaker is that it's not compatible with any kind of 3/4-inch multi-mount. So I can't have my lights and camera and mic on it. That's really thick. if you can't, like, well, first of all, most, like, I have a multi mount. I think I have a multi mount, if that's what I think you're talking about, for my two monitors. And you have a torque thingy that you can twist, and it goes down to like 2 to 3 inches. So that's weird. Wait, you're talking about a desk where you actually screw in your camera and stuff? Oh my gosh, this site. I hate sites that have like 20 pop-ups. You have a clamp mounts, and then my camera is screwed into the mount. Yes. Okay. And you're saying that the clamp doesn't fit on the desk. Yeah, that sounds like a really, really thick desk because side edges are too close. Side edges. All of my edges are in the middle of the desk. Yeah, edges of the base. So, like this thingy here is too close to over here. Is this not horizontal? You have the base with the metal parts. Yeah, so this thingy here. And they're too close to the side of the desk. So, oh, so you're trying to clamp your microphone and other stuff to the left and right edges of your desk. Oh, yeah, I have everything. Well, I have an L-shaped desk, but even then, yeah, on my desk there's like 3 inches between the left and right edges and the legs, the metal brackets. So I recommend an uh, autonomous. I was about to say an automaton. Is heavy though. Back is also a no-go because cable management. Okay, okay, that makes sense. My cable management is on this side, but it's a tray that hangs down. So there's a plate that is flat against the desk, and then the tray hangs down like a like this. So pretty much it adds like a, I don't know, an eighth of an inch to whatever you want to clamp onto that side. But in IKEA right now, and it's good, I guess. Hmm. Excuse me, I need this screen to stay up. Name current balance, adjusted balance. Name. Used it. Do it. Add used balance, which is going to be inside of here. No current balance, no adjusted balance, no name. Okay, name. Current. It doesn't matter what order. It's going to get resorted anyway. Ooh, Dukasoft wants to know how you managed to get out of the IKEA store. Do you often find yourself stuck? I just. Dude, I'm Swedish. It's in our blood. They are the IKEA store. Anyway, let me see what previous supervisor wants. I can also pronounce the names of all IKEA products correctly. Oh my gosh. Like adjusted. Adjusted. You guys are so weird. Hello, Goku Jags. I hope you had a great turn of the new year. I mean, turn of the old year to the new year. IKEA is like a maze inside for those that don't know IKEA. Yeah, IKEA is this place that you go onto the interwebs and you type in IKEA.com or something, and then you're like, I want that thingy, so send it to me. You never have to go into a store ever. I've never, maybe I've bought something from IKEA. I could be, I don't remember. I love this keyboard. Not gonna lie, it's really heavy though, and expensive for a keyboard. But it is the M250. What is your brand? Logitech MX keys. Absolutely love it. And it also uses the same unified dongle as all of your other Logitech products. If you have other Logitech products that use the unified key, and you can connect to 3 different dongles. That's what these numbers are on the top here. So that's my recommendation for keyboard. But it weighs, like, literally weighs about 3 pounds, 1.5 pounds. I don't know. Excuse me. What is your weight? It's really, really heavy. Wow, 2 pounds. Which, for those of you in non US places, 1.9 pounds to kilograms is almost 1 kilogram. Don't ever drop it on your foot. How to use components in partial class in Blazor. Oh, okay. So you want a variable assigned to a component. There are 2 ways. So the variable would be a render fragment in either approach that you use. And so if you're inside of a .razor file, maybe you should show it in your stream. Do stuff. Then you can use the @ symbol and then whatever component you want. Just like if you were writing it in the actual up here. No? What are you angry about? Oh, I wonder if... Wow, you can't use var for it. I didn't know that. So anyway, you can declare it as a render fragment and then do it this way. If you're in a C# file, um, usually a code behind file or a base class for a component, then you can use render fragment equals a lambda where you take in a render tree builder and then you output your component. So in this case, it would just be builder.open component of whatever type of component it is. Yeah, account summary, for example. Oh, I don't know how to type. And then you give it an index number essentially. So what I normally do is I have a current element counter. And then every time I do one of these steps for building up a component using a render tree builder, I just increment it. Oops. So there's that one. What? Stop it, keyboard. Okay. So the other thing that it looked like you had on your sample was that you have model. So you have an attribute that you're trying to pass into it, or I guess it's a parameter. So what you could do, like let's say account summary row, because we're about to use this anyway. Let's say we had a parameter on here that is a public, and for now I'm just going to put string since I don't have a model for it yet. But let's say this is your model parameter that you have in your sample. What are you even doing? Let's just make it nullable so it doesn't give us Christmas. And if you want to set that model while you're building up your component programmatically, you would do builder.add attribute. And again, you need to assign it this. It's a way for the Blazor rendering engine, Razor rendering engine, to know what position or which element each of these things is associated with in case you're going to modify it later, or when it's doing the actual render, it's building it in the right order. But this is name. I like to use name of because magic strings are bad. Account summary row dot model. But this can just be the actual string of the parameter that you're trying to set, the property name for that parameter, and then the value that you want to set it to. Some model. So if I initialized a model up here, I could pass that as the model for this component. And the thing that you want to remember to do is for every open, make sure you have a matching close. Other things that you can do here are adding classes, adding content. And content is the stuff that appears inside of it. Content could also be a new component. So if you have another render fragment, you could put it in here. To add a class or change classes, builder.add attribute lm++ class, and then your class list. You did a little different. So how did you do it that is different than using a render fragment? Because I'm guessing this is what you're talking about, GokuJax. I used a dynamic component. Yeah, so you are, yeah, okay. There are things that you can do Yeah, if you want to make one reusable way to do it all, then that is what Thindle is talking about. Hey, buddy. Okay, cool. So I'll wait for Thindle to type out more. MOAR. Well, and then parameters is what? An array of dynamic? An array of object? A key value pair of string object? Or I guess dictionary of string object, but you know what I mean. Yeah. So a dictionary of string object, probably nullable object. You know, just in case. So yeah, there is a generic way for you to do it, but usually these types of situations in apps are one-offs where you are uh, instantiating, initializing a component from not using a razor file. Unless you do it a lot, you don't have to worry about trying to find some clever generic way to do it. So what we need in this component is to decide, are we going to pass the component itself the list of accounts, or is this account summary overview, account summary page going to, yeah, that's the answer. We are going to have a parameter. Yeah, that sounds like quality content to me. I haven't been in people's streams lately because I have been running the stable diffusion stuff like pretty much constantly. So I'll start my model or do a description or refine the description, whatever I happen to be doing for the prompt, and then have it create 10 plus variations. And then I work. And then when I see that that's done, then I tweak it. I put it in paint, I put it in overpaint, and then go back to work and then go back to that. So that means that my computer is constantly using the graphics card and trying to watch videos and streamers. Just, it doesn't work. How to call jQuery plugin in Blazor. So as long as you have jQuery loaded, like if you have it in your index.html or you load it after the fact, but I would recommend loading it on app start because it is a pretty heavy load. I don't know if it's gotten any better or not. But as long as you have script source jQuery, wherever you have your jQuery, Junior, oh my gosh, I can't. Then it'll be available anywhere in your app. So the only thing that you would need to do to use it without needing to do any extra JS interop stuff is inject. So let me write this thing out. Oh, I don't even have a model for this yet. List of string. Oh, yes, I do. its account. No, because I don't have anything that gives me the current balances and pending. So anyway, account summaries. Why are you angry at me? Thank you so much for the follow, Crypto Ghost. Crypto Ghost underscore. Non-nullable property. That doesn't make sense. Why are you in error? You shouldn't be in error. Yeah, I don't know why that's giving me an error. But anyway, so the question is, how do I call JavaScript? Or how do I use jQuery from Blazor? So the easiest way is to do an inject. So either in a code behind file, you do an injection like this. It's not the same kind of dependency injection where you have a constructor and then you type, put all of the objects that you want in the constructor. Here you use this inject attribute. And you can do it in both the Razor file or the code behind file, razor.cs. And you'll inject an IJS runtime with the namespace JS interop, which I usually put inside of imports if I ever need to use it. Okay, so you get a JS runtime. And the thing that you get back from your JS runtime is, let's say we have a public void async task, do something. Do something JavaScript related. Then you get a whole bunch of things that you can use with your JS runtime, such as in var ret val equals JS runtime.invoke async of some specific type that you're expecting back from whatever JavaScript call you're doing. So if your JavaScript function returns an object, then you should have a C# equivalent of that object that can be it'll be returned as JSON, so it can be deserialized to that object type. But in this case, let's just say it's a string. And you call, now this is the important part. The JavaScript that you put inside of here has to be a global function that is available everywhere in the app. So for example, like I don't really know if you can call $ stuff. Like let's say you wanted a list of all classes that match, or all elements that match some class. It's been a long time since I've done jQuery, so hopefully I'm still using the right syntax for whatever this is. I don't know if it's actually going to work like that. Yeah. The point is, all of these have to be, anything that you type in here has to either be registered to window, which is what most people do, or at the very top level. So inside of index.html script, here's some function with params return with params. So that would be some func. Did I just call it some func? Nope, some function. And the thing that we're passing in is a goose. And then we're going to console write line. Oh, wait. Right val. And so we should see a goose in our console when we go to our main page that has an account summary. Oh, you finish rebuilding? Oh, there. I didn't call it. There is an important thing to note about JavaScript interop with Blazor. The JavaScript runtime will not be available to a component until after the first render, typically. So, yeah. So, whenever you're going to actually do any JavaScript interop stuff, you would want to make sure that first render has happened. And so the way to check for your lifecycle event is a protected override, and you can do either async task, just task, or if you're not doing any asynchronous functions in it, then void. But I am going to do an asynchronous thing in it. So async task on after render async. And this will happen every single time a re-render is triggered for that component. But thankfully, you get a parameter with this lifecycle event called first render, or it's just a bool that you can call whatever you want, but it is to let you know, is this the first time that we are rendering the component? Has it fully rendered once? If it is, then we'll call do something. Otherwise, we won't do anything. Okay, now survey says, wait for it to finish building, wait for it to restart, and we get a goose back. Okay, so in short, IJS runtime is the thing that you need to call JavaScript from Blazor components. You can do it from the code behind. If you're going to do it in a separate C# class, you cannot inject an IJS runtime because that doesn't have the browser context with it. So usually when you're trying to call JavaScript stuff from another class, you would pass in the JavaScript runtime from the component that's calling it. So the typical approach for setting up JS interop, there are two. There's isolated JavaScript and JavaScript interop. The typical way to set up JavaScript interop is you have a JavaScript file. Oops. That will be all of your JavaScript functions. So for example, this would be my, I don't know, account JS interop. Not that I would be doing anything with account. And you would create essentially a static variable that you are making available at the window level. So it would be called like, I don't know, account JS funcs. You would set that equal to an object, and that object will have a whole bunch of functions as properties. So the exact same method that we just wrote here in index.html. I'm coming up with this off the top of my head, so if I break stuff, I apologize. This one is going to be called some function, which is going to be a function that performs this stuff. And so you can imagine having a bunch more of these. So like some function 2. And let's say that the only thing that some function 2 does is it calls some function 1 and returns that. So return, oops, not semicolon. Nice try though. Return some, oh, because we're calling this from another function, then we need to make sure to use the same alias. So account, I said alias, same variable account funcs dot some function with parameters. And then normally the next step is to create a new folder, JavaScript interop, with a file in here called account.jsinterop.cs. So this is your JavaScript functions that are going to be available throughout your application. It's usually static. And each of your methods, each of your JavaScript functions are going to have a corresponding C# method, which I think GitHub Copilot was trying to get me to do. No, it wasn't. Okay, so instead we're going to have public static, and these are all going to be value tasks. So the thing that these guys return are value tasks. So value task, in this case, it's a string because that's what this JavaScript function returns. And this was called some function with params. Close. Okay. And the other thing that I forgot is, as I mentioned before, if you are in a separate C# class, you will, in general, pass in IJS runtime to the method. Okay, and that will allow you to use the passed in JavaScript runtime that we know is attached to the browser, that we know has all of the information from the browser, from that session, from the current window that you're in, the context that you're in, to do JavaScript runtime.invoke async. These were called account.js funcs. So whatever name you gave the variable that you are registering to window, dot method name, and then any parameters that it takes. So if this had a long list of parameters, you would just comma next parameter, comma next parameter, comma next parameter. And so you would create one of these for every single one of your JavaScript functions, or the ones that you want to expose to your app, that is. And now in our component, instead of having the JavaScript runtime stuff here, we would do await account JS interop, which we need the namespace for. Come on. Dot. And then you call it just like a C# function, except you pass in the JS runtime first, and then more geese says with 2 S's. And if we look here, then we have an error on line 35 that says account.js interop doesn't contain a definition for some function. Did I spell it wrong? Yet? I don't know. It was just being weird. Maybe I didn't save it, even though it didn't have the little asterisk saying that it wasn't saved. But anyway, if we go back here, and we are still not rebuilt. Oh, there's one more piece of setup that I'm forgetting. Gosh, I need to remember these things in order so we don't have to jump around. Okay, so it did build and it's fine. However, we got an error. And the error says there is no such function, no such JavaScript called account.jsfuncs.somefunction. Account.jsfuncs does not exist. And that's because I forgot to import that script. So instead of this, we're going to do script source equals JavaScripts. Actually, we have to do this way, which is underscore content. So I'm using a separate component library that has its own www root folder. And this is why most people opt for doing isolated JavaScript instead, which I'll show you that. Maybe. What time is it? I'll show you that if you want, if you're interested in it. But underscore content slash the assembly name for where the files, the JavaScript file is that you want to get, and that will immediately take you to the web content folder. So this www root. And so we're looking for JavaScript slash account.js finandman dot Blazor UI account.js interop.js. And so now our JavaScript should be available for the application to use when we refresh, and you can already see it there. We get more geezes back. So there is a bit of setup when it comes to using JavaScript interop like that. You create the JavaScript function. This works with if you're doing all of your JavaScript using TypeScript, and then you're outputting that to a JavaScript file. Then you're still importing that JavaScript, and then you're using that function. I don't know if there's a way to use TypeScript directly. There probably is, but I'm not the biggest knowledger on TypeScript. I just know that TypeScript can transpile into JavaScript. But anyway, so you get that. And then here is your list of functions that are available to the app as long as you put its counterpart in C#. There is one other thing that you can do with this, which is you can have a whole bunch of JS invocable methods. And what this means is you can call these methods from JavaScript. And this one is a little bit of gray area for me because I don't use very many of them. But yeah, there's something like passing in the C# context, or maybe you get it for free. I don't know. Let's find out if we get it for free. So let's say some function 3 doesn't actually call any JavaScript method. That's why we're not passing in a JS runtime with it. Instead, we're going to say that when some function 2 gets called, it does whatever process some function 1 does, but then instead of returning anything, it will do a .NET invoke. Yeah, I hope this is right. The assembly name for where that JS invocable method is, the name of the method, and then the parameter. I don't know if this is right. I kind of remember there being more capital letters, but we're going to try it. So if that built successfully, oh, we're currently calling only part 1, whatever we're calling this thing, some function without a number. So then the other thing that we're going to do is await some function 2. And actually, the cool thing about this one is you could just do a fire and forget with it at JS runtime. another more tacos. You could really just do a fire and forget. You don't have to await it. You don't have to anything. You could just do it. You could just do invoke async, let's say. No, we don't need invoke async because it's already a task. But anyway, point is you can just have it run. And the reason why is because it's up to the JavaScript method in this case to trigger some other C# code, some other .NET method. But because this thing is actually returning something, then we may as well await it and then console out it. I keep alt tabbing when I mean to control tab. So we'll do that one. We'll set ret val equals await this one. Two. And what we should see is the second thing that we get back is the value. Oh no. Oh no. We have to do it here. My bag. We won't actually ever get a value back from this. This is essentially just something that runs and then does stuff. The place where we would see the value would be in the JavaScript code. So if we did var other val, and then we did console log other val, and maybe from JS, and then over here, we kept you as string, but instead, we're going to do console write line val. And then we're going to return val. Okay, so since this thing is not actually returning anything, we can now make this be value task because the JavaScript function is not returning anything. And this is going to now be, instead of invoke async with a parameter, oh, it is still going to return something, the value task. Because this thing is not going to have anything that needs to be turned into a C# object or anything, then it is invoke void async, which just means we're not returning anything from JavaScript. Then what we should see, provided I did not break anything, is when we call await this, we're going to see a console log from JavaScript and then a write line from C#. If everything actually works out. I could be completely lying to you. Ah, promises pending. Hello, Abaddis. Okay, at least we did see that the JavaScript did do a thing. I'm not exactly sure why it's... Oh. Because this needs to be awaited too. Right. Because this is an async method. It needs to be awaited in JavaScript as well. I don't know how to await stuff in JavaScript. And I don't know why it's telling me that account funcs could not be found. Do I still need to do some kind of declaration of async somewhere? Like here, for example? I don't know JavaScript. Yes, that's what I need to do. Okay, so it's actually in a different order. I did not, oh yeah, duh. We're calling the C# method first, which is why we get the console log from the C# method right here. So console write line from C#, here's the value. And then we get the console log from JavaScript that is from JS, whatever the C# method returned to us, which is the exact same string that we just printed out. And there you go. That is using JavaScript interop to call JavaScript from C# and then to call C# from JavaScript. The end. So if you're interested in the second part of that, which is using isolated JavaScript, then let me know. I think it's still called isolated JavaScript. Using modules, using JavaScript modules. Yeah, and if I went too fast with that, this is going to be posted to YouTube after 24 hours after the end of the stream. So you can go back and rewatch that if you feel like it. Yeah, I have a feeling that I would fail at turning this into a module. Do we want to try it? I want to try it. I play it while sleeping to try and absorb the one-line magic. Well, thank you, Habitus. Why not? Hope you talk about oh no. Okay. Renewing Jot tokens in Blazor. So we had a viewer that is busy that was really, really, really good at giving examples for that. But they haven't been around for a while. I still like I use well, I don't use anything anymore. I don't even need to worry about using identity at all. But I use the built-in Microsoft Identity stuff, which included the I can't even think of their name anymore. The one that ships with brand new file, new project with individual accounts. Identity server. Gosh, that was really hard. So I used Identity server because it did all of the token generation, token management, talk to the user store. I was using SQL as my user store, so it was really easy to set up. That I don't know how to create my own client side identity using OpenID stuff, generating my own token. That's something that I really would like to learn, but I don't have a need to at the moment. And I've been focusing on other things. But if you are working on a project that is for you, that is a personal project, then you can use Identity Server. So when you do File New Project, and let's say it's a WebAssembly application with hosted backend, because again, that's really the only one that I know how to configure, and you choose individual accounts, it will scaffold for you all of the Identity Server stuff. Yeah, Identity Server is not free for companies that make over $1 million, have over some threshold number of employees. And I don't know if maybe there are other restrictions to it now, but that was the pay model when I was last using it. License model is what I said. Freemium. So yeah, there's that. Okay, let's see if we can turn this thing into an isolated JavaScript thing. Um, once again, we still need a JavaScript file for it. This is going to be embarrassingly slow, and you guys are gonna be who you are and be amazing. I am not going to project onto you. Dang it. So we're gonna do JS isolated. JS interop. Yeah, so you can use ASP.NET Core Identity. It's the thing that Identity Server provides for you is that handshake. Go out, talk to the identities, the user store, authenticate the user, then do the token flow. So somehow generate a token with everything that you're supposed to generate it with. Add custom claims if you have any custom claims, and then send that token back to the client. But if you're using any server technologies, then you can just use ASP.NET Core Identity. But if you're using WebAssembly or some kind of two-tier front-end, back-end, where the back-end is who cares what, you just need to get a token to your client somehow, then that's a situation that I'm not familiar with setting up. Okay, so all that we should have to do is turn these functions into, or turn this JavaScript file essentially into a module by changing all of our functions to export function. You can also export consts or other variables. Oh, can you export async functions? I don't know. I've never tried. All right. And so since these two are now inside of the same module, instead of needing to call window dot whatever variable name you put in window dot some function name, you just call the function directly. Now I don't know if this is going to have any conflicts because again, I don't know JavaScript well enough to know whether the naming of these two is going to conflict with the existing naming of these two. It shouldn't because these are registered to account.js funcs. So that's going to be my guess. So account.js funcs dot some function is not the same as this imported module some function. That's what I'm going with. Sticking to it. Okay, so that's step one, is to turn all of your JavaScript stuff into exported functions. This is essentially making them public, turning this JavaScript file into a module. Step two, this time I'm remembering to add source isolated. Oh, no, this is wrong. Dang it. I remembered, but we don't do this. This is actually not the way to add the reference to this. However, I just did it so that we could have this in our clipboard. Mm-hmm. So what do we mean by isolated JavaScript? Isolated JavaScript means that wherever you're going to use that JavaScript, it's usually going to be a one-time, you're doing it in this component. So maybe it would be better if we did something like account summary.razor.js to keep the stuff with it. I think that's a good idea. I need to paste this somewhere though, so that I don't lose it. And this is not something that I have had a lot of practice with, but it is the way that I've been tending to go. Anytime that I have global functions that need to be available throughout the entire application, I put in a JS interop file. Anytime that I have something that's specific to just this component, I put inside of the component itself in an isolated JavaScript thing, which I haven't had to do much of. That's why this is going to be really embarrassing for me to let Copilot do it all. So we definitely need the JS runtime, but we need another thing called JS element reference, JS inject private JS object reference. JS object reference. Except it doesn't get injected, right? We initialize it. I'm going to have to look this up because I don't remember. We'll learn together. Blazor isolated JavaScript module. Yeah, okay, so it is a private variable only. And it's usually named module task, right? Because we do task of. And that is going to be JS object reference module. Oh, right. Right. This is going to be capital module. This is going to be lowercase module. I'm kind of remembering this. This is nullable. So module underscore module question mark. Then this is going to be the loading the JavaScript module. Which is JS runtime.invoke async import IJS object reference. Yeah, so then import path to our JavaScript interop, isolated JavaScript interop, which in this case is, oh yeah. So then I don't know how to do that. So this needs to be in a location that is available to load this way. And so I can't have it as a .js. You maybe will have a .ts, and then that .ts file will output to JS/ whatever. Maybe. Anyway, this is the path that we're going to use anyway. So there's something weird about it. Is it because you're a value task? Okay, so there's still something weird that I am not quite remembering for the beginning of this. I think I'm backwards. Okay, what I I don't remember. Does anyone remember? Because I sure don't. There is a. It's the same thing as this. It's just we don't always want to initialize the module on after render. it's probably more likely that we won't use the isolated JavaScript when we go to a component. So we don't want to needlessly load the JavaScript if we're not going to use it. So that's why I'm trying to take this approach that I really like, that I just can't quite remember. And I think I might have learned it from a Steve Sanderson snippet. Oh, here it is. Oh, question mark equals. Ah, I forgot an equal sign. And it's still a task. Okay. So you're still a task. Wait, they're both regular tasks? Oh, there is a as task. Interesting. All right, I'll explain what this does in a second once we start to try to use it. So in this case, we're going to have a button click that does this instead of an on after render, just to show what I mean by you might not always use this thing. Click. Do the thing. Do the thing. Z, plural, obviously. With async private. If you can tell, I like putting my visibility modifiers on everything. Everything. Do the thing is what we're trying to do. Async task, maybe. Hello. Okay, so the first thing that we do is we get a reference to our JavaScript module. And that's going to just be await module. And so if the task has already completed, then we're just going to get back the result from that task immediately. Otherwise, we're going to assign the task to underscore module and then run underscore module, await underscore module at that point in time. And then underscore module will be populated with that task that has already completed. So var module equals await module. And you'll also notice one other thing that I said you should be sure to do, which is to make sure if you're going to use JavaScript runtime, which this does in order to load the module, if you're going to use JavaScript runtime, then you will want to make sure that the page has rendered at least once. In this case, you will not be able to invoke this do the thing without clicking on a button that was rendered on the page. So that's how we are ensuring that on after render has happened at least once. So anyway, then we're going to module dot. And so you're going to see here we don't have the same benefit that we do from isolated JavaScript off the bat. But you could do something like do, what's it called? Extension methods off of your IJS object reference that will do this, or you could also have a separate C# class that does this load module every time that you instantiate it. But we just have to use here await module.invoke async string do some function. No, just some function, I think is what we called it. Oh, yeah, some function, and then we'll pass in another place. We'll assign a value to it. I mean, assign it to a variable. Console line val. Okay, so now on our home page, we have our account summary component that when it loaded the subcomponent for account summaries, it did our C# in or JavaScript interop stuff. And now when I click the button, it does our isolated JavaScript stuff. Oh, I should have shown you this. You'll notice that in our list of things that get loaded when the app starts, there is no isolated JS interop.js being loaded. But as soon as I click the button, that's when it loads the JavaScript script. So that is the benefit of using isolated JavaScript. When you don't want to load all of your JavaScript resources up front, you only want to load them whenever they're going to be used. But the other cool thing is, if I click the button again, we're not loading it again because it's already been loaded. We're just calling the same, using the same reference, using the same module. And so we just called it again and again and again. Even if we go to another page, I don't have a way to get back to home and go back. We're still just using the same module, the same loaded JavaScript module. So we don't need to reload the resource, is what I'm trying to get at. So that's isolated JavaScript. Any questions? If no questions at the moment, but if you do have questions later, feel free to let me know. I'm going to continue on with procrastinating so I don't have to do the UI stuff. What? That's not what I'm supposed to be doing. Okay, we need to create a model for our account summaries, which is going to be different than the actual accounts object. So we could just send back a list of account view model, but that's not going to give us everything that we need. We need a different view for our account summaries, which will show account name, current balance, pending amount. And then we'll just have it calculate the adjusted. And we'll also keep the account ID with it so that we'll be able to click on the account name itself to get a filtered transaction history for that account and maybe a flyout or something. Good, good. Okay, so let's create that model. I have a shared folder. And I'm doing some cleanup. I don't know why I'm doing cleanup. It's kind of like I know a few people that have the compulsion that when they have a bunch of windows open, they just want to close as soon as you're done with the window. Because you just don't want that many windows cluttering up your space. So you end up closing tabs or closing windows and you're like, I wasn't done with that. I need that open again. So here I'm deleting everything, and while I was deleting it, I'm thinking, I should have just left the example in the app. This is a sample project, so why not have example JavaScript interop and isolated JavaScript? But that's okay. We have a video. But now I can't say, check out the source code, check out the solution, check out the GitHub repo for the example code. Oops. It's okay. All right, so why are you angry at me naming a parameter account summaries? It should be public. Why are you private? Because I let Copilot drive. It's my co-pilot, not my pilot. Okay, so we need this object. What would this thing look like? We have a shared library that has all of our models that are used throughout the application. It's not a data entry model. It's not a lookup model. Dang it. I don't want to create a new folder called account models because account view model is a thing. And then I would be like, do I put that in my lookup models or do I put that in my account summaries? So then do I put my account summaries in my lookup models folder when it's not a lookup item view model? What else do we have in here? Yeah, we're just keeping the account ID, name, and account object, but I don't think that I am including all of the transaction history when I send back the account object. We can find out. So let's go to a data entry page. You can see that this is where our accounts are. When we went and got our accounts, what did we get back? Yeah, we did not get back the .include transactions. So it's not like we can calculate all of the transaction history amount, starting balance, etc. That said, we need to create a new view model for this. Where to put? I don't think that we're going to need any other models. So yeah, I am just going to do a new folder called account summary models. And this will have our account summary object. It's public because it's in a different assembly. Max is here. Hello, Max. Happy New Year. I hope you're having a fantastic beginning of your new year, beginning of 2023. And Big Gamey is here. Hello, Big Gamey. I'm sorry I've been missing your streams. I've been doing a lot of Stable Diffusion. I've been running Stable Diffusion a lot while I'm working. So instead of passively watching other streamers, I've been letting my graphics card burn up by prompting it and having it create. I missed a troll. That doesn't sound very fun. So if you guys don't know Big Gamey, he is a fantastic game dev. Yeah, you can ask any questions you want. Rapnif. If you don't know Big Gamey, he's very fun to hang out with. Great streamer. Good times on his stream. Give him a follow. You can see him up above. You're doing ASP stuff. Which ASP? ASP Classic, ASP2, .NET, MVC, Web Forms. He joined Twitch today and was asking if it bothered me that he was younger than I was. I changed my face cam site. Yeah, I moved things around a little bit. Max. I'm hoping to put more content stuff in there. I just have no idea what to put there at the moment. Yeah, just about everyone is younger than me, so I'm not bothered by it. Big Amy, are you bothered by being younger than me? You're such a baby. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, head on over to Big Amy's channel when he streams. Okay, so Rabnif is saying I'm doing yeah, anything that can distract me from doing UI stuff. Absolutely. I'm such a baby thanks to Dukasoft today. So I'm doing authorization, dang it. Of course it had to be authorization. Authorization for an ASP web app. It's got three types of users, admins, customers, and employees. For the database models, would you use multiple tables, inheritance, or a single class with all the shared and unshared fields? If you're doing users in a .NET application, especially if you're using anything from .NET Framework 4. Something on up, and you're using a database as your user store, I would recommend using Microsoft Identity, which is the thing that allows you to have a thing called a user manager. And you can customize your users and put all of those extra fields that each user has in that users table. And then the admin, customers, and employees would each be a role that you assign to a user. Yeah. However, if you are setting up user tables yourself, the way that I would do it is, again, I would still have a users table, a roles table, and then a users roles table. Yeah, you're doing code first DB with EF core. Yeah, so why not just use identity? It'll scaffold it for you. And so your table will end up looking like, you're welcome, Goku Jax. Thanks for stopping by. Really appreciate you hanging out. It'll look like this. And it'll by default name all of your tables ASP.NET blah, but you can rename them again using code first with your entity framework context, DB context. It's just your DB context will inherit from identity DB context, I think. But yeah, just what I would recommend is create a new application or a new project. It doesn't even need to be a new application. You can put it in the same place. Add new project. And let's say it's just an ASP.NET Core site, Razor Pages app. Razor Pages with auth. Whatever version of .NET you're currently using. Wait. Oh, I needed to pick web app. Sorry. ASP. Oh, thank you so much for the subscription. You really didn't have to do that. I enjoy helping out wherever I can. But I do appreciate the sub. Thank you so much. Means a lot. ASP.NET or Razor with auth. Choose individual accounts, and that will scaffold for you. I was talking about this a little bit earlier. That will scaffold for you a database context that inherits from identity DB context and then shows you the setup for that. So all you would do is in your application, if your main application's database is also the one that has your users in it, you just tell it to inherit from identity DB context instead. And that will give you those tables that I just mentioned, the ASP.NET users, ASP.NET roles, ASP.NET user roles. And then it also does stuff for tokens like claims, for using third-party authentication. It just sets up tables for them, even if you're not going to use them. But you'll at least have that multi-factor authentication. Yeah, like if it's a decision to be made. I can't argue one way or the other. I have a separate identity stored database for all of my applications because all of my applications share the same users. It's just not every user has access to every application. So that's based off of roles or policies, even. So I could have in my identity store another table that's like organization or other user information, like what you're talking about having. So in here, I would just add a new object called db set of, and then let's say that it's organization, which means that I'll have another table for user organization. And so what this would be is essentially all of my ASP.NET users would have a matching entry in user organizations that maps them to one of the organizations. And then in my actual application, I have a policy that says only users within these organizations are allowed to access my app, or only users with these claims are allowed to access my app. So that's a decision that needs to be made. You could have all of your extra tables inside of that same database if you wanted. And that's why I'm saying the easiest thing for you to do right now is probably just to tell your existing DB context to inherit from an identity DB context. And when you do that, you'll get those other tables for free. You'll have to do a migration to get those tables added. And then for your existing users table, you could just manually move your users from that users table into the ASP.NET users table if you have existing users. Otherwise, just start over. Why not? Other things that you might want to do are override the table names. So public, is it public? Protected? Protected override on model creating. You could do stuff like builder dot entity ASP.NET or identity user, application user, application user. Anyway, whichever table gets set up for you for your identity user, you can map or to table, and then you can rename that table, like users, for example. And you can do this for each of your table types. And usually you do have, I don't know why it's not here, but usually you do have a separate application user object that you get for free. It's really weird. So normally what it does is it creates another class called application user that inherits from identity user. So that you can add extra fields. So this is how you would add more fields to that user table. But the thing is, you need to tell your DB context that your identity user is this application user object. Same thing if you're going to rename your roles or add more stuff to your roles table, then you would have another class that inherits from identity role. And then you'd need to tell this thing, I'm using application role for my identity role. Of T key. Why are you angry? Anyway, it looks like when you're doing that, when you actually have to put the key type for both of those tables. Usually they have string, I guess, or GUID. But yeah, that's how you can just map them to different table names. You can also do other configurations on it using code first migrations, all of the stuff that you might be used to already with that. No, no, no. I'm happy to be distracted from doing UI work. But yeah, the other thing to look at in here is take a look at what they set up in app settings for their database connection. Make sure that yours matches for the most part. There's this new, when you're using your local database, trust server certificate, I think. It's either singular or plural. I can never remember. So if this one gives you an error, then make it plural. But trust server certificate allows you to use a local DB. If you're not using local DB, that is, if you're using something like your own developer edition of SQL Server, like I am. But anyway, just get everything matched up. Take a look at program.cs to see how they are actually setting up the identity store. And you'll notice that they are adding default identity, which means that you don't get roles out of the box. So you have to do add default or add roles, and then whatever class you're using for your role. If you didn't overwrite the roles, then this would just say identity role. This allows you to use a roles manager to add and remove roles from within the application itself, to add users to roles, remove users from roles, list off. You can also use user manager to do that, but this will help you add new roles. And then the other things to look at are use authorization, use authentication. And finally, the last thing that I'll mention, because I need to get back to work, is if you want to customize the pages that you get for free for when the application starts and then gives you the login page, you would go into this areas. If you're using a Razor Pages application, if you're using MVC, oh, you still do the same thing, right? But you right click, add new scaffolded item. And I'm right clicking on the pages folder. I think you could also right click on the areas folder. On the left, you'll see identity. And provided it has the code generation package, so this code generation.design, as long as that installs correctly, then you'll get this screen that pops up showing you all of the possible identity pages that you could override, that you could restyle yourself, you could change the content that's on it. Tugasoft that says, they see me rolling in, they hating. Are they? I don't think they are. When we see you roll in, nothing but love. So you'll pick the database context and whichever pages you want to override, like the forgot password page, confirm email page, login, reset password. What's my other favorite one to override? Manage. Manage. Account manage. Account manage. Index. That one. And you just click add, and it scaffolds all of the stuff for you. Just keep in mind that it does use identity user by default unless it sees in your database context application user or whatever class you used. So you may need to go into login would probably be one that has it. Yeah, so it picked up that I'm using application user, but you would see identity user here if it didn't. So you might have to update those manually sometimes. And so there you go. That's pretty much how I learned to use identity. Is I created a new project, picked give me identity for free, and then I picked everything apart until I found out more information about what I was looking for. How do I use roles? How do I add claims? Custom claims is annoying, by the way, but it is possible. You can do custom claims. Like instead of having a separate organization table, maybe you have the organization as a claim. Cool. Well, we're going to wrap up the stream here for today. I'm glad we were able to talk a lot about just questions from the community. But just a reminder that Fridays are Community Day on what do I call this program? One Line of Code. And what I normally do with community days is I invite people on to the voice channel in Discord where you can talk with me. Awesome. Thank you so much for the lurkin live coding. You can talk with me. Oh, Thindle went live. We will certainly raid him. I will get that raid started. Hindal. Okay. Raid is started. If you feel like hanging out with me, I'll be heading over to Thindle stream until I start running some more Stable Diffusion stuff and the stream starts stuttering and it just gets annoying. Yeah. But Friday, if you have any topics that you want to discuss, technology topics, projects that you're working on, things that you're excited about in the world of tech, just if you can, let me know ahead of time. Just send me a private message on Discord. Otherwise, just show up on Friday. I'll invite you into a Discord voice channel. You'll hop on, your voice will be on the stream. We'll have conversations, we'll talk, we'll chill. And yeah, other than that, I normally post my videos on YouTube sometime 24 hours after the stream ends. And you can just hang out with us on Discord if you feel like it, where Dukasoft has posted the link for us. Thank you so much. And other than that, I hope you all have a great rest of your day. I'm going to get back to work, struggle some more with WPF, but also clean up some more UI. Yeah, Dukasoft is best mod. All right, ciao for now. Ciao for me. Cheers. Shalom.